What's up, guys? I hope you're well. Today we're checking out 11 F1 races the wrong man won. Ooh, this might be some fighting words. Let's get into it, shall we?
One of the great things about sport is that what is supposed to happen doesn't always happen. Even in Formula 1, which can often feel too predictable, there are times when the script is torn up and the person standing on top of the podium isn't necessarily the man who should have been there.
Seems
A lot of those
scripted
races
right
have gone
now.
down in F1 folklore over the years, and here are Autosport's 11 memorable races that were won by the wrong man. Number 11, Alain Prost, France 1990. Alain Prost winning on home soil wasn't the fairy tale result everybody wanted by the end of the 1990 French Grand Prix. One race on from its cars failing to qualify in Mexico, the Leighton House March team nearly pulled off a stunning upset with Van Capelli, who led 45 laps of the race until falling oil pressure forced him to back off and concede to Prost Ferrari with just 3 laps to go. Having decided to go through the race without making a pit stop for fresh tyres, the team actually ran 1-2 during the middle of the race before Mauricio Gugelmin was passed by Prost's Ferrari shortly before retiring. Number 10, Damon Hill, Spain 1994. Nobody begrudged Williams a race victory so soon after the death of Ayrton Senna in 1994, but the star of the Spanish Grand Prix that year was Michael Schumacher, who somehow finished second despite being stuck in 5th gear.
Oh, wow.
Schumacher rocketed into an early lead, but shortly after his first pit stop, his pace dropped significantly. Remarkably, Schumacher adapted his driving style to avoid losing too much momentum in the corners, and he hung on to finish second to Hill, a result he said felt as good as a win.
That's remarkable.
Number 9,
the car
Didier
stuck in
Pironi,
5th.
San Marino
Wow.
1982. The wrong man certainly won this race in the eyes of Gilles Villeneuve, who was furious at Ferrari teammate Pironi for disobeying an agreement the Canadian felt was in place for the two cars to hold station at Imola once their main rivals were out and they had a 1-2 on home soil in the bag. But Pironi had other ideas, repeatedly repassing Villeneuve, who dropped his pace by around 2 seconds per lap whenever he was in front. Villeneuve's claims about the agreement to hold station were not backed up by Pironi or Ferrari's management, which is why this famous race, the last the great Canadian would start before being killed in qualifying at Zolder, doesn't rank higher on our list. Number 8, Damon Hill, Belgium 1998. Jordan's famous first victory isn't only in here because Michael Schumacher's collision with David Coulthard cost the German a race he was leading by more than half a minute. Even once that accident left Jordan with a 1-2, the race win was in doubt for Hill, and he knew it. Fearing the pace of teammate Ralf Schumacher, whose car was set up more towards the wet conditions, Hill sent a very firm radio message to Eddie Jordan, suggesting in no uncertain terms that the two cars should hold station. Ralph was told to play the team game, but he sparked panic in the Jordan pit as he refused to acknowledge the messages coming from the pit wall, before eventually saying okay and looking very unimpressed on the podium afterwards. He'd have to wait nearly 3 years to take the first win of his F1 career.
Wow. That's crazy.
Number 7, Rubens Barrichello, USA 2002. There are quite a few candidates for this list thrown up by the Michael Schumacher Jean Todt era of Ferrari, but we've gone for Indy 2002 because of its unique circumstances. Unlike the most famous finish between Schumacher and Barrichello from Austria earlier that year, there were no team orders at play here, as proven by the fact it was Barrichello that won the race. With Schumacher's dominant 5th world title wrapped up months earlier, the Ferraris were free to race each other at Indy, and Schumacher was set to lead home another dominant 1-2. However, on the run to the finish line, he slowed to allow Barrichello alongside, and the Brazilian crossed the line 11 thousandths of a second ahead.
Wow.
Schumacher initially suggested he was trying to stage a dead heat between the two cars, although he went on to change his story to wanting to repay Barrichello for the favour from Austria. Not many in the paddock believed him.
Yeah.
Number 6, Heikki Kovalainen, Hungary 2008. Kovalainen became the 100th driver to win a World Championship Grand Prix when he took the only win of his F1 career, but it was a race that belongs to Felipe Massa. The Ferrari driver was in fine form from the off, battling around the outside of Lewis Hamilton at the first corner to take the lead, and keeping his championship rival at bay until Hamilton suffered a puncture and fell down the order.
Wow.
Massa then had a comfortable gap back to Kovalainen in the second McLaren until his Ferrari engine heartbreakingly let go 3 laps from home, dealing his championship hopes a hammer blow.
Oof.
Number 5, Lewis Hamilton, Azerbaijan 2018. Hamilton's demeanour after the race in Baku was as subdued as he's ever looked after winning a Grand Prix, and it's because he knew this was a race that fell into his lap. Hamilton was running a lonely third before a late safety car period caused by the Red Bull teammates colliding, and he moved up to second when Sebastian Vettel's lunge on Valtteri Bottas at the restart failed. Hamilton then inherited victory a lap later when Bottas ran over debris and blew a tyre, and the race winner went to find his teammate after the race to console him, delaying the podium ceremony in the process.
Wow.
Number 4, Michael Schumacher, USA 2005. Michael Schumacher didn't have a winless full season in F1 in the first part of his career, but in 2005 he should have. After a dominant season in 2004, Ferrari and Bridgestone were caught out by rules banning tyre changes in races, and it left the 7-time world champion off the pace with a car that was on average only the 5th fastest on the grid that season.
Interesting.
But then came Indianapolis, where only 6 cars started the race after Michelin's tyres were deemed unsafe following accidents earlier in the weekend. As F1 shot itself in the foot and was unable to come up with a workable solution, Ferrari was presented with an open goal, as Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello only had to defeat Minot's Jordan and Minardi to secure an unlikely 1-2 in a season to forget.
Damn.
Number 3, Jacques Villeneuve, Hungary 1997. The 1997 Hungarian Grand Prix was all about Damon Hill, who seemed destined to cause one of the great upsets in F1 history with arrows.
Ooh.
After qualifying third on the grid in a car he'd only scored 1 point with in the first 10 races of the year, Hill shot into second at the start and then stole the lead from his old nemesis Michael Schumacher on lap 11. From there, Hill disappeared into the distance, enjoying a lead of 35 seconds over Villeneuve with just 4 laps to go. Then disaster struck. The hydraulics on Hill's car started to play up, costing him 9 seconds to Villeneuve on lap 75, then 21 seconds on lap 76. Villeneuve started the last lap just 3 seconds behind the doomed arrows, which by this point was stuck in 5th gear with the engine running on tickover, and Hill trying to nurse it to the finish.
Wow.
Hill admits he weaved towards Villeneuve as a Canadian passed him for the lead because he felt so desperate, and the Williams took to the grass to get ahead, going on to win by 9 seconds.
Dang.
Arrows would never win a Grand Prix, ultimately folding in the middle of the 2002 season.
That sucks. Feel kind of bad for them.
Number 2, Alessandro Nannini, Japan 1989. This one makes our list not because the driver declared the winner was the wrong man, but because someone else took the checkered flag first on track.
Huh.
Suzuka 89 will always be remembered for the famous collision between Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost that decided the World Championship in the Frenchman's favour. But that outcome only became official once Senna was thrown out after the race, having rejoined from their collision and chased down Nannini to win on the road by 2 seconds. Senna was then excluded for not rejoining the circuit at the place he left it, having used an escape road that bypassed the final chicane to get his McLaren restarted after the collision with Prost.
Yeah. That's a DQ right there,
Number
baby.
1, Fernando Alonso, Singapore
Yeah, buddy, that was my boy.
Renault fancied its chances at the first Singapore Grand Prix, but its hopes of springing a surprise with Alonso seemed over when his car stopped in qualifying with a fuel pump problem, leaving him 15th on the grid. But overnight, key members of the Renault team hatched a plan for teammate Nelson Piquet Jr. to deliberately crash early in the race after Alonso had made his first pit stop, with the resulting safety car period catapulting him up the order and leaving him in the lead when the remaining cars ahead made their scheduled stops.
Dang.
Alonso then executed a typically masterful drive to claim Renault's first win in 2 years,
Nice.
but from where he started on the grid, he had no business winning that race if it had played out conventionally.
Yep.
It took nearly a year for the scandal of Renault's conspiracy to become public, with Flavio Briatore and Pat Simmons being banned from motorsport for their roles in the plan.
Wow.
That's our list. Let us know in the comments below which races you would include, and if you're wondering why there are no last lap breakdowns featured in this video, it's because those are being saved for another time.
Cool. We'll have to check those out soon. Very interesting. Really cool to see that. Man, Alonso came from 15th to win, even though he had a little help by a purposeful wreck. But awesome video, great information. Really cool to see it. Hope you guys enjoyed it too. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching. Stay safe and don't forget to wash your hands. Bye.